Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to Chattering with Nicholas Vince. And this week I'm going to be talking about gays in horror films. So a couple of things to do before we get into that. Thank you to everybody who subscribed. I mentioned last week that I was just under 600. We're now officially over 600 subscribers. So thank you all very, very much indeed for, sharing this journey with me. And there are lots more really interesting guests coming up in the future, I'm sure. So yeah, in fact, I'm going to tell you a couple of mention when the next shows are at the end of the show. So before we get into that, first thing I need to do is to we're broadcasting, that's always good. I just wanted to thank a gentleman called Alan Aldred, who is a tattoo artist and portrait artist in the UK, because Alan gave me a couple of presents. So I got this original watercolor, which is just wonderful. So I shall get that framed up. And then the other thing that Alan very kindly sent me is a print of an original. And I just need to get it out of a cellophane envelope, which is always difficult. Hopefully not too much reflection. You can see all toothy there. I love the way it's going to be really interesting to frame this one up. So I'm going to get that framed up when we return. So Alan, thank you, Alan Aldred. He's a tattoo artist, as I mentioned. You can find his Facebook page, and I'm just reaching for his card so that I can get his website, which is alanaldred.com. alanaldred.com. So Alan, thank you so very, very much indeed. I'm really pleased to have them, and as I say, I will get them framed up and we'll get them displayed behind me. So that was that. The other thing I want to mention, and I already see we've got a few people joining us. If you want to join me live and have a conversation, join me live. Just let Craig know in the comments and we'll try and get you on, because I don't have any other guest. We should be able to get people on if you want to talk to me about the 4 films that I've chosen, which were Hellbent, Killer Condom, The Tenderness of Wolves, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show for gays in horror movies. Do please come and join us. Obviously, you can just leave comments as per normal. Speaking of Hellbent, that is going to be screened at Nova Nights on Wednesday, the 16th of August at the London Horse Hospital. So if you just right, there are no horses involved. I think it's a great venue. It's a really, really interesting arts venue. So yes, if you want to come and join me, I'll be there. I'm also going to be screening The Night Whispered. And if you happen to have supported the Kickstarter, somebody said, when are we going to get to see The Night Whispered? And I thought, yeah, I haven't really kept people abreast of that. Basically, I'm going to release that into the wild on Wednesday, just before I do what will definitely be its last official screening in public, as far as I'm aware. Mind you, I said that 6 months ago, and then suddenly I got 2 more. But yeah, no, you're definitely going to be getting, if you supported the Kickstarter, you're definitely going to get to see The Night Whispered. Yeah, so that's okay. So we've got 6. Brilliant. We've got some people watching. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. As I say, if you can either join me, you can post comments. Craig will feed those up to me, and I'll share those thoughts. And let's kick off with Hellbent. This is a really interesting film. It's saw it ages and ages ago, and it really is a stalk and slash featuring, and it's made in 2007. It's kind of in the vibe of the 19, if you look at it, and it's obviously an independent. It's not a huge amount of budget. It's obviously filmed in West Hollywood. You kind of feeling that it's just, everyone got together with all their mates and they put together actually what is a really good film with some really chilling, frightening moments. But as I say, the reason it made my list is because it was over 5 stars, and it includes characters who are completely and utterly out of the closet gay. Incidentally, I don't want anybody to be offended by the fact that I didn't include lesbians in this. I said this is gays in horror. That's because I want a guest who's Patricia McCormack, who's going to be joining me. I hope to discuss this further when I come back from my break later on. We've actually had quite a lot of films, like lesbian vampire lovers, and there's lesbians in horror movies is quite well shown. Actually having an out homosexual man in a horror movie, it was really, really tough. I literally looked at summaries, I looked at lists of gay horror movies, etc. And to actually find some was really, really tough. So as I say, the first, Hellbent, which comes from one of the executive producers of Nightmare on Elm Street, is what it says. It's set on, as I say, West Hollywood, Halloween, 4 very gay friends who are completely out. They are gay. One of them dresses as a transvestite. You kind of get the feeling that this is the first time he has dressed as a transvestite, and therefore wouldn't necessarily affect wouldn't necessarily recognize himself as being, or he wouldn't identify himself as being a transvestite. But it's I don't want to give too much away because, as I say, we're going to be screening it on Wednesday night. So if you're in London, it would be great to see you there. Come along and join us at Nova Nights on Wednesday the 16th of August. I'm going to be putting some links up after the show. But don't actually see gay people in a horror movie, to me, was really amazing. And honestly, I hadn't realized the gay angle when I saw it first. That's not what first attracted to me. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and share the poster with you for Hellbent. I don't know how well that's going to. Right, I was just going to see if I can get it. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can share that with you. And it was this poster that actually attracted me to it. And start screen share, present to everyone. So this, hopefully you can now see, and this is the image that I first saw. In my mind, it was in a poster, but it may have been a DVD cover when I first, or possibly a video cover when I first saw it back in 2007. Yeah, probably a video, possibly a DVD color. And I actually didn't, which when you look at it and you look at the gentleman who's standing at the back in the mask, is kind of fairly obvious that possibly it's, but I just did not make the connection. What really shocked me was that image. And that is real, and it's like, oh wow, and it really was a surprise. So that's Hellbent, and as I say, I won't spend too much time on that one because we didn't really. We're going to be screening it on Wednesday, so if you're around, come and show. Kim Lehman, High Tension is a very good movie. It's a very good film. I'm not familiar with High Tension, Kim, so if you want to type in a little synopsis and tell me why we should be discussing High Tension, and that's fine. Please do so, and Craig will pass that on. But I'm just not familiar with High Tension. So Hellbent, yeah, that's Hellbent. Okay, so the other question before I move on to my other 3 choices, and so the really obvious one is, why no Nightmare on Elm Street 2? Well, because it doesn't meet the test of there being any out gay characters. It's really interesting. I asked Jack Shoulder. I was with Jack Shoulder last year in France at a film festival, and I asked him about this, and he said, well, listen, to be honest, Wes was supposed to do it the second, and then he dropped out 6 weeks before I was brought in. He said, it's, and I haven't looked it up online, and interviews he's given since Jack Shoulder, the director of Nightmare on Elm Street to, he said, he lived in West Hollywood, had lots of gay friends, and lived in the Village in New York. And it wasn't that he didn't have, but he said in his mind there was no gay undertone. And if you look at it, really, there isn't. Except there is, obviously, because I think at that time, and this is part of the thing that I find so interesting about gays in horror movies, is it's all unstated. For those who know, they're going to recognize the signs, they're going to recognize the symbols. I mean, yeah, okay, you get a man whipped together in a shower naked with towels. And Robert Englund was saying, there's something really quite gay about this thing. And it's like, yeah, okay. He's accused, the coach is accused of going to gay bars, and that's what going into being into S&M, but you never actually see him in a gay bar. So it's, to me, it doesn't mean that, because that is not an out gay character. So that's for me why no. And then the other thing is, there's the lovely scene of your man Mark Patton, who, as it turns out, was a gay actor. Well, that's nothing unusual. There are an awful lot of gay actors. He never has any conversation about his feelings of sexuality. He's with the girls all the time. So that's why no Nightmare on Elm Street 2, as far as I'm concerned. And I think this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show. And just remind people, if you missed the show last week, it is the 50th anniversary of the partial decriminalization of homosexuality is in this country, in the United Kingdom. Having said that, so when I, turned 18 and kind of decided that, this is probably me. Well, actually, to be honest, much later, 21. It was probably when I finally accepted what I am. It was still illegal for me to have sex with anybody under the age of 21. It had to be done in private, with nobody else in the building. So if you had flatmates, you couldn't do it. You couldn't actually meet somebody and talk to them and invite them back to your place. You couldn't actually swap telephone numbers. That was still against the law. That was known as importuning. So if you met somebody you liked and you wanted to have fun with them and wanted to meet up with them later on, if you swapped telephone numbers, that was against the law. And it's really interesting. We've been watching documentaries over the last couple of nights about the history. What happened in the last 50 years? Well, basically, the number of arrests for homosexual acts and lewd acts went up after the law was decriminalized because of those little nice caveats within the partial decriminalization. The number of arrests went up. So really not that good, really, honestly. As I say, the age of consent was 21. The heterosexual age of consent at the time was 16. And it took a good long time before it was eventually dropped to 18. And then eventually it was dropped to 16. So, as I say, 50 years, that's when the law changed in this country. And, we've gone through the whole thing of a thing called Clause 28, which, bastard Tory government, and that bitch Margaret Thatcher, I make no apologies, may she rot in hell. It not a good day. It was tough in this country, so I can understand why you don't see out gay people in movies. So anyway, so let me have a quick look. Okay, beautiful woman. Yeah, Craig has just told me about High Tension. I'm not seeing an out gay character in that movie, but perhaps Craig can or Kim can tell us where there's an out gay character. Yeah, it's interesting. Derek saying it was one of those films, talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, was one of those things where things are not. I don't know it, if it was there. As I say, the director wasn't aware of it. It's not that explicit in the movie on Nightmare on Elm Street 2. So, that's why Nightmare on Elm Street is not in. And just to kind of give you the potted history of decriminalization of homosexual acts in this country. Just to be clear, being a lesbian was never illegal, but that doesn't mean that lesbians weren't treated as less than second-class citizens. They didn't have an incredibly tough time, and it was by no means accepted, lesbian relationships. In fact, the armed forces, people could still be court-martialed for being gay, not being caught in an act, but just being gay or lesbian, and dismissed from the armed forces. And again, it's only in this century that things have really changed in this country, that we have now got civil partnerships and civil, and people can now have gay weddings, gay and lesbian weddings. And interest, okay, so potted history. Okay, so that's why no Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I'm going to move on to my second choice now, which is Killer Condom. Now, if anybody, it's really hard not to laugh and giggle when I talk about Killer Condom, because if you haven't seen it, literally, it's really it's very easy to sum up what the plot is. It's about a killer condom, and the way that the killing condom, and this is from 1996, is a German film. It's set in America, and a lot of it was obviously filmed in New York and Berlin, but honestly, it's just wonderful as. Go away, Dark Tower. I don't want to see anything about Dark Tower. Yeah, 1996. It's based on a comic by a gentleman called Ralph Koenig, which is what I had first come across. Probably, I'm guessing, sometime in the 1990s. There was this comic. It's just amazing. All about this condom that kills people by biting their dicks off. So basically it starts in a brothel, and a man is about to, well, he's a professor, and basically this is the way the whole movie starts, a professor taking his young female student into this motel quickie, it's called. It was really, really dodgy motel. Then he's obviously, what he's saying is, I told you this morning that you passed your exam. I was wrong, but don't worry, I'm your examiner, and if you have sex with me, then you'll have passed your exams. And just as he's about to do the deed, he very sensibly, does the safe thing and puts on a condom, and then the next thing you know, there is an awful lot of blood. There's lots of blood around the place, and I have to say, incidentally, one of my favorite credits on the movie is Geiger. H.R. Geiger was a creative consultant on this, and if you have a look at some of the designs of the condoms, you can understand his contribution. Brilliant. It's wonderfully funny. It's totally silly, obviously, but the detective who is assigned the case is a middle-aged gay detective, and he is completely out to everybody in his police precinct, and so on, which obviously kind of reflects what was going on in Germany. Certainly doesn't reflect what was going on in America at the time. I guess I can't really, and back in the mid 1990s, an out gay detective. Can't really imagine that happening. I could well be wrong. It's not something I've really studied, but certainly that is that's the comic. It's filmed, and it is just, if you haven't seen it, it's worth seeing. And how they get those condoms to move across the floor by themselves, and they're just the most darling little things. I mean, apart from obviously the fact that most men are going to be sitting there with their legs crossed during a lot of this, but you've got these little condoms going running across the floor. So Killer Condom, it is 1996, and that is directed by Martin Waltz. So if you've not seen it, I really do recommend seeing that movie, because that is a fun movie. So that was my second choice for 1996. My third choice was The Tenderness of the Wolves, or Tenderness of the Wolves. It depends how you want to translate your German, basically. Tenderness of the Wolves is sometimes it has the definite article at the very beginning, sometimes before the second to last word. But basically, this is this is based on the historical mass murderer. If you've ever come across Peter Lorre in M, it's based on the same case. Basically a police informant who seduced young men, cut them up, and ate them, and also sold the meat to butchers, etc., and amongst his friends. Now he's out because he has a very obvious male lover. I have to say, don't get me wrong, I love the Arrow releases of things. It's very interesting, though. If you look at the DVD artwork for The Tenderness of Wolves, directed and starring Uli Lommel, it's got wolves on it. As far as I remember, there are no wolves in the movie. This is set in 1950s. It's not Berlin, Dusseldorf. It's also got one of the most explicit male on male biting of neck scenes that I've ever seen. It is an extraordinary film, absolutely amazing film. The central performance by Uli Lommel is just extraordinary, really chilling as hell, and obviously the subject matter as well. And there are certain sequences on it which are really, really difficult to watch. I know, okay, we know I'm squeamish, but I mean, just very, very difficult to watch. But again, really cleverly done. You know what's happened, and and the central character of this movie is a monster. He really doesn't appear to have any redeeming characters as far as I'm concerned, but the performance is absolutely mesmerizing. And if you have got if you can get hold of the Arrow version with all the extras, there's a really interesting documentary DVD extras on it as well. So yeah, if you've not come across The Tenderness of Wolves, do have a look if you're interested in vampire, kind of not supernatural vampire, but people who are interested in bloodlust and cannibalism, etc. That is a movie I would recommend having a watch of. Now, so again, if you would like to join me, if you've got any other films, if you think I'm wrong, or just make comments, and let me know. I let Craig know, and I'll invite you on to have a chat with me. Otherwise, I'm just going to carry on talking, and that's going to be absolutely fine, I hope. Anyway, interestingly, I've got some, before I move on to the last choice, which is Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is already quite rightly caused interesting conversation and controversy. I've got some recommendations. Sacrament, directed by Sean Hewitt, was mentioned to me. I haven't had a chance to look at it, and it wouldn't have made this list because it's got less than 5 on IMDb. But again, as I understand it, is a horror movie without gay characters in it. Now that you get an awful lot of you get an awful lot of soft porn, I've discovered. Really, you get an awful lot of soft porn, and in the last 5 or 10, 5 years or so, you do get an awful lot of gay characters in films. Far more. There's been, thank God, we get that is completely acceptable. You are going to get an awful lot. You will get gay characters in movies who are out, and and they're having relationships and so on. I don't mind, as I say, it's not important to me that the gay character is a good guy, otherwise I wouldn't have chosen The Tenderness of Wolves. But a character who is actually a fully fledged functioning homosexual in a movie, is really unusual, and we just don't have enough of them as far as I'm concerned. A couple of suggestions that came in: Stranger by the Lake, which is a French film, I know. I haven't had a chance to watch that. Another suggestion is Dead Man's Shoes, which, let me look that one up as well. It's really difficult to work with IMDb at the moment because there's so much being plugged for The Dark Tower. That's fine. But when you're trying to look at stuff, it is more difficult. Disaffected soldier returns to his hometown to get even with the thugs who brutalized his mentally challenged brother years ago. Okay. By Shane Meadows. That's okay. That would be interesting to see how that one. Oh, okay. I'll check that one out because that has got 7.7 on IMDb. And I do apologize for not making a note of the person who suggested that. So do please forgive me for that one. And then so where was so Stranger by the Lake, as I say, Frenchman, and Dead Man's Shoes. Another one that's suggested is Sacrament, directed by Sean Hewitt. To check out, which is horror and has got characters in it. Oh, that's interesting, Derek. Thank you very much. The new It, if it follows the book more closely, has got a gay bully in it, but as we haven't seen it, it is only speculation. Oh, that's interesting to see if okay. I'm never having seen the original TV version of it. I've no real thoughts on it. Obviously, people are really excited for everything I've seen with the new one, and it's definitely got Stephen King's approval. Even though, as he said, he had nothing to do with it whatsoever. He was sent a screener. I don't think they've even sent him a T-shirt. That's right. I lifted that. I didn't actually drink. And the director said it's very much his interpretation of Stephen King's book. It's not necessarily an absolutely faithful adaptation. I don't know how true that is. This is just purely based on a couple of articles I've read about it. So anyway, we'll move on to my last choice, which is a bit of a cheat, but I wanted to get 4 films, and I plumped for Rocky Horror Show for the obvious character of Frankenfurter, and as I was very rightly pointed out, he's not an out gay man. He's into transvestism. A better description of him would probably be pansexual, rather than bisexual, even. And there is this thing about the lack of visibility of bisexual characters. That again, it's very true. how often do you see a really good, well-rounded bisexual character? But again, I think it's this thing about things being out. People, the character living comfortably as a gay person. Now, as I say, I'm not asking that they should be completely and utterly a nice guy. They could be a bad guy. They could be, but I think we have now moved away from the days of gays in cinema being mentally ill or evil or just perverted. I looked, as I say, there was a film I had a look at and was wondering about whether it would make the grade, and that is Sleepaway Camp. Now, it has gay characters in it. In fact, you see two men not only kissing, but in bed together. However, that is supposedly what sends because two children see that happening, one of them, sorry, this is spoilers, if you haven't seen Sleepaway Camp, not a huge amount to recommend Sleepaway Camp as a movie. Jonathan Tiersten's in it. He does a good job. I'm not really slagging off, but there's some really dodgy dialogue. Oh God, the fact that children has seen two men making love causes absolute sexual confusion, apparently. And Dominic, I can't really say I'd recommend anybody watch Sleepaway Camp. But anyway, sorry, going back to Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah, he's pansexual. But to be honest, I wanted a fourth film, and I was really struggling by this stage to find anything that would satisfy me, being over 5 stars and having a well-rounded gay character in it. One of the comments I saw earlier on was sorry, I've just got a suggestion come in. Gus Van Sant's film Elephant. Okay, let me have a quick look on that one, so if anyone knows. And that suggestion has just come in from Danny. Thank you very much indeed, Danny. Let me have a look at, again, I'm not familiar with this. Let me see if I've got the right one. The first one, Gus Van Sant. Okay, several ordinary high school students go through their daily routine as 2 others prepare for something more malevolent. Okay, interesting. Okay. Be interesting to see if they do. This has got to definitely meets the over 5 stars on IMDb. Okay, I can check that one out. Tell me a little bit more about the gay characters in that, please, Danny. Okay, cool. Yeah, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Who doesn't love Rocky Horror Picture Show? And it's a movie about pansexual. It's about bonking everybody inside. But I watched it again yesterday just in preparation for the show. I'd forgotten just how dark it is. I remember, and again, spoiler alert for if you've never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. I can't imagine you've never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. But if you have never seen it, spoiler alert. Eddie's death, I'd forgotten how bloody that was. And I remember being very upset at the end, but I had not remembered just quite how nihilistic it is, the end of Rocky Horror Picture Show. It really is a downer. To just, yeah, I'm now quoting Rocky Horror, his song, and I'm at the beginning of a great big downer, I think, probably to misquote the lyric. It's a wonderful, it's nihilistic, but it's wonderful, and I remember seeing it for the first time. I've never seen it on stage. I suddenly realized I've only ever seen the film, and there's wonderful on Amazon, wonderful digital restorations. of that done that you can get. It's about having fun for fun's sake, but Frank is a complete sociopath and it's his pleasure no matter the cost. This is true. Frankenfurter is a sociopath. He looks great in high heels and tights. And a wonderful performance by Tim Curry. But yeah, it's about having fun for fun's sake, but Frank is a complete sociopath. And it is all about his pleasure, no matter what the cost. Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right, Derek. That is exactly what it's about, with some damn fine tunes in the thing. Closeted gay in the mob. Yeah, you see, Danny, thank you very much indeed. Check out The Sopranos as well. So we're looking for horror, gay characters in horror films. If you know of any, do please give me a shout. So my criteria is it's got to be an out gay person in a horror movie. I will. Somebody suggested Scream TV series, again made in the last couple of years, and it has an out gay character in it, and great, absolutely great. You don't see that much about his relationship, from what I remember. You see his relationship with girls, and then that's that is often the way with gay characters in movies, even when they are in just movies. Even today, they will be the gay best friend of the heroine, and that's fine. Having more visibility for gay people, I'm all for that. But actually having a fully functioning, and by fully functioning, that might be an argument. It might be going through difficulties. It might be one of the characters being unfaithful. Whatever it is, that's what happens in relationships, gay relationships. What I'm looking for and asking people if they've come across is a gay character who's fully rounded. Not a it can be a sociopath, and it doesn't. But as long as the homosexuality isn't taken as being the underlying root cause of their the reason that they're a sociopath. Yes, right. I've just looked down and looked at the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The tagline, "A different set of jaws," it's really good as well. So, has anyone got? I've more or less finished my burble. Basically, my recommendations, as I say, were Hellbent, which we're screening on Wednesday, Killer Condom, the Tenderness of the Wolves is actually possibly a better of a Tenderness of Wolves or Tenderness of the Wolves. You'll find it under the latter on IMDb, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Were my 4 that I came up with, and there's 3 of those that can actually meet my test of a gay character. So what I would like to see is more horror movies with gay characters in them. That would be Dear Mr. Gacy, Esme, thank you so much for that. Now I came across Dear Mr. Gacy. Yeah, no, I didn't have a chance. I'm not accepting Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs as an fully rounded gay character who's in a decent relationship. I'm not. I really am not. This person with really bad body dysmorphia. That's interesting. A chronicle of the interaction between college student. I'm going back to Dear Mr. Gacy now. A chronicle of the interaction between college student Jason Moss and the object of his obsession, serial killer John Wayne Gacy. Sorry, the reason I'm pausing is I'm trying to pronounce the director's name, which is Svetozar Ristovsky. It's 2010, starring William Forsythe, Jesse Moss, and Matt Lahana. Yes, that looks quite an interesting, that one, Dear Mr. Gacy. I wondered about that one. Unfortunately, I came across it too late to have a chance to look at it beforehand. But I will check that one out as well. So, The movie is just awful, but there is the gay bed and breakfast of terror. Tons of gay characters, really low budget and hilariously bad. Yeah, I think this one's available on Amazon Prime. Mr. D, the suggestion is the movie is just awful, but there is the gay bed and breakfast of terror. Tons of gay characters, really low budget and hilariously bad. Um, it does look. I have to say, there's another one. I can't really describe it as horror, but if you want something really quite an amusing French film which has got out gay characters, it is a film called Poltergeist, which is quite fun. I watched that again the other day. It's not horror. It's about gay poltergeists, ghosts, basically, and all about sexual confusion, and so on, but just fun. I wouldn't exactly describe it as being, it's heterosexual men getting really concerned about the fact that they might be gay, because being gay is just though, to be honest, yeah, it's not that bad in terms of the attitude, because there are an awful lot of gay people, and it does show well-rounded. Actually, no, it shows well-rounded gay relationships. It does, and gay men in love as well. It also deals with sexual confusion quite nicely. It's a French film. It's subtitled, but I do recommend Poltergeist. Yeah, I love the gay bed and breakfast of terror. Tons of gay characters, really low budget and hilariously bad. Okay, I will check that one out. I think this has got something like 3.3 on IMDB, so I kind of avoided that one when I was looking at it, but thank you for that suggestion. So any more? If anybody has, or any other comments, or if you disagree with what I've said, or any other thoughts, do please paste in your comments, and Craig will pass them up to me. But otherwise, I'm thinking that I've probably got not an awful lot else to say. My friend Damer looks very good. I mean, there are lots. I mean, not horror. Yes, Esme, I was a teenage werebear in Chillerama. And somebody else, I can't remember if it was you, Esme, who mentioned this. I'm not familiar with Chillerama. Let me just see. Chillerama. I'm not familiar with this one at all. Last Drive and show, which are so rare that they've never seen. Yeah. Until this very night. Chillerama. I should check out Chillerama. I was a teenage werebear. Werewolf, werebear. That just sounds so wrong. And in fact, I think there is another Bear in the Woods movie all about, for those of you who are not familiar with the parlance, large muscular men, large men who are particularly hairy are referred to as bears in the gay community. And there is a whole community of there's a whole wonderful community of bears, wonderful gentlemen. That is that's there as well. Chillerama, I shall look out for Chillerama. It sounds really good fun, and I like the idea of a werebear, even if I can't say it particularly well. There isn't enough. That's enough problem. There isn't enough for me to talk about. So this is a play. This is partly a plea, and I will do my best at some point to as I was researching this, I was thinking, shut up, Nick, just stop complaining. If you want to see gay, well-rounded gay characters in feature films, horror feature films, well, you could go out and write one. And I will endeavor to do that as well, because they're sorry, a repressed gay teen transforms into a beast after being bitten by a hunky classmate. I presume that was a teenage werebear. rather than just a random comment I'm getting. But I want to check out Chillerama. It sounds really good fun. If we can get it on Amazon Prime, I shall look at Chillerama tonight after we finish the show. But hey, no, we've been talking for 45 minutes. I've been talking for 45 minutes. Do check out, if you're in London, come and join me on Wednesday at the Horse Hospital Nova Nights, where I'm going to be interviewed by Billy Chainsaw, and we're going to be screening The Night Whispered. And as I say, I'm going to be introducing Hellbent. It's got some good moments in it, and it is completely, these are out gay men. So if do come along, it'd just be nice to say hello. As I say, the next show, there won't be a show for the next couple of weeks because I'm not going to be here on the next couple of weekends. The second weekend on Sunday evening, at least. And the reason for the last weekend of the month is Fright Night. Not Fright Night, Fright Fest. Fright Night. Oh, actually, that was another suggestion, of course. It doesn't meet the criteria, but again, it's another one of those you just like, yeah, okay, the lead vampire obviously bites women and is obviously seducing women. He lives with a man and they're antique dealers. Sorry, this used to be code. Gay men used to disappear and go away and open antique shops. This is what used to be is understood as being, if you went away with your male friend and you opened up an antique shop, you were probably gay. I'm talking about the 1950s, 40s and 50s onwards. This was the understanding about the people who ran. Willow and Kim, thank you very much indeed. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Willow and Tara, of course. As I say, I have deliberately not included lesbians. There's nothing against lesbians, obviously. No, you're confused. The antique dealers are in Salem's Lot, the Stephen King novel. No, I'm not. No, you're just confusing me. No, in Fright Night, I'm not confused, honestly. Jerry Danvers, he's living. They're antique dealers. That's kind of what they do. His friend, yeah, they're antique. I swear they are. I'm gonna have to watch the movie again. Craig says I'm wrong. There may be antique dealers in Salem's Lot, but as far as my memory of Fright Night, but obviously the wonderful Fright Night movie, and your man who's God, sorry, brain is dying because I've mentioned somebody else's name. And I'm just going to type in Fright Night now. The character played by Evil Ed, Stephen Jeffries, who I have met and obviously is gay. That is a really, the loneliness of the young man who can't come out of the closet in 1985. And again, I don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking the filmmakers and the gay filmmakers and the gay writers and directors and actors who went through the 1980s and so on. And thank you, for all those people who stood up for gay rights over the years to allow me to actually have this kind of conversation with people. The people repressed, you therefore get you get your subliminal message across. You get your in closet message across. Characters, this is the way that gay characters had to live. And there are lots of gay films without gay characters, independent. I'm not knocking that at all. Finding them in horror movies is very, very hard. It has changed. It's massively, massively changed. And there's lots of other independent, low-budget movies, which I could have done if I hadn't put in, and it was just to try and limit the list to 5 stars on IMDb and above, just as a way of kind of filtering down the amount of stuff that I had to deal with and look at as a way of looking at stuff. Scary movie, yeah, The Killers. Well, yeah, scary movie. Does it really count? No. Scary movie, yeah. There's plenty on television, but movies are still shying away from it. In fact, I think one of the reasons that Derek is saying is movies are still shying away from that. Okay, budget is a reason, and there are articles saying that one of the reasons why you don't see gay characters or about gay characters in movies these days is because of Hellbent, because it was a big production. I'd say that it was a cheap, it wasn't, it cost quite a bit. It was a substantial, with a lot, as I say, a lot of big names in terms of production, producers involved, and it just didn't do well at the box office, because who's going to go with his girlfriend? What bloke is going to go with his girlfriend to see a movie about gay men? This is one of the reasons that big mainstream movies tend not. They know what the demographic of the audience is. I think it's changing. I think it's, and I'm talking historically. It is changing. Of course, it's changing. The way we consume movies, we watch movies, is changing. Absolutely. And this is why I was so pleased to see so many independent feature films coming out with gay characters in, and so on. You don't see, it's going to take a long time before I think you see an awful lot of this happening. And it's not like we don't have wonderful programs like Modern Family on the TV, which are enjoyed by people in the UK. And hey, remember that wonderful American comedy program called Soap with Billy Crystal, without gay characters in? So it's not there. It's not completely swept under the carpet, and the history is littered with good examples of people really tackling the issues on the head and showing very positive images of gay people. But really tough to find them in horror movies. Really tough to find them in horror movies. You never know. I've not really looked too closely at Fright Fest's schedule. It'd be interesting to see if anything comes up in Fright Fest. Anyway, all right. So I think that is probably we're 8 minutes towards the end. We've been going for nearly an hour, and I'm losing my voice, as you can tell. But honestly, this is a goodly number of viewers. Thank you so much indeed. Obviously, quite a lot of interest in this. I hope you found this interesting. You've found some more films to go and watch. I want to go and watch Chillerama now, because I want to see a werebear. I love the idea of a werebear. A werewolf, a werebear, werewolf, werebear. Yes. Okay. I will see you in about 3 weeks' time, when my guest, I'll tell you more about my guests at the beginning of September. There's a great, lovely lady called Patricia McCormack, who I will tell you more about closer to the time, is going to be talking about some stuff related to this topic. But I've got to sort out exactly the format of the program with her. But thank you so very much indeed for joining me. This has been Chattering with Nicholas Vince. I've been talking about gays in horror films. Enjoy the rest of your holidays. It's August. Everybody should be on holiday in August. I'm certainly going to be taking a couple of weekends off. So I will hopefully see some of you at the beginning of September. In the meanwhile, stay calm, stay cool, and stay spooky.